It began like any other cold December evening in Waterville, Maine. The kind of night where quiet falls early, and the only sounds are the soft hum of heaters and the occasional car rolling past sleepy homes. Inside one of those homes, 20-month-old Ayla Reynolds was being tucked into bed. She wore her favorite polka dot pajamas. Her tiny arm, still healing from a recent injury, was wrapped gently in a soft cast. Her blonde curls framed her face. She looked safe. She looked loved. But by morning, she was gone. And what followed wasn't just a missing person case. It became one of the most haunting and controversial child disappearance stories in recent American history. Not just because of who vanished, but because of who didn't speak. When police arrived at the DiPietro residence on December 17, 2011, they found no sign of forced entry. No broken windows. No evidence that anyone had crept into the house in the dead of night and snatched the little girl. Instead, what they found was silence, and a household full of people who insisted they had no idea what happened. Ayla had been living with her father, Justin DiPietro, for just a few weeks before she disappeared. Her mother, Ayla Reynolds, was battling substance abuse issues at the time and had voluntarily entered a rehabilitation program. While she worked on her recovery, she left Ayla in Justin's care. It was supposed to be temporary, but it became permanent in the worst possible way. Justin claimed he put Ayla to bed around 8 p.m. the night before. When he awoke the next morning, she was gone. But the story never sat right with investigators, nor with the public, because 3 adults had been in that house: Justin, his sister Alicia, and his girlfriend Courtney Roberts. All claimed to have been asleep. None claimed to hear or see anything unusual. None could explain how a toddler could vanish without making a sound, without leaving a trace. What made everything worse was what police found as the investigation deepened. In January 2012, investigators revealed that they had discovered Ayla's blood inside the basement of the home. Not a drop, not a smear, but more than a cupful, spattered across surfaces. Evidence that something violent had occurred. The public was horrified, and the police made a rare and bold statement. They no longer believed Ayla had been abducted. They believed she had died in that house. But even with that announcement, no arrests were made. The people in the house refused to speak further. They lawyered up, they stopped cooperating, and silence fell again. The story gripped Maine, and then the country. As more and more details emerged, the suspicion grew heavier. Justin had taken out a life insurance policy on Ayla shortly before she disappeared. He refused to take a polygraph test, or failed it, depending on which official you ask. Law enforcement has never fully disclosed those results.
Trista, Ayla's mother, was devastated. She had already been grappling with guilt over her decision to leave Ayla in Justin's care. Now she was faced with a nightmare. She began organizing press conferences. She confronted Justin on camera. She begged for answers. And all she got was silence. Over the years, the public rallied behind her. Candlelight vigils were held. Posters and billboards plastered Ayla's image across towns and highways. Volunteers combed woods, rivers, and abandoned buildings. But there was never a trace. No body, no shoe, no toy, nothing. How does a child just vanish? And yet, many believe she didn't vanish. They believe something happened in that house, something awful, and that it was covered up. In the months following her disappearance, Justin DiPietro moved out of state. He avoided media. He avoided questions. Every time he was approached, his response was the same. He didn't know what happened. But that answer has never satisfied anyone, especially not Ayla's mother. In 2017, 6 years after Ayla's disappearance, Trista filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Justin. She wanted justice. She wanted accountability. In the absence of criminal charges, civil court was her only path. And in 2022, she won. A judge ruled in her favor by default when Justin failed to appear in court. The court officially declared Ayla dead and held Justin responsible for her death. But it didn't bring her home. It didn't answer the most pressing question. What really happened that night? To this day, the 3 adults in that house have never broken their silence. They have never shared new details. They have never been arrested. And that, more than anything, keeps the wound open. What happened to Ayla Reynolds may not just be about a single night. It's about systems that failed, about silence that kills, about a child whose last moments were likely not peaceful, but terrifying. It's about a truth that lies buried beneath layers of denial, fear, and maybe even guilt. Trista Reynolds has said many times, "I just want to bring her home." But how do you bring home someone whose name has become a symbol? Because Ayla has become more than a case. She is every child whose voice was silenced, every mother's worst fear, every unsolved mystery that leaves justice unfulfilled. Even as new cases capture the headlines, Ayla's story lingers. Detectives say the case remains open, that they review new tips, that they've never stopped looking. But time has a way of burying evidence, of fading memories, of protecting secrets. Still, there is one thing that has not faded: Trista Reynolds' resolve. She continues to speak her daughter's name, to tell her story, to demand the truth. And maybe that's what keeps this case alive. The relentless voice of a mother who refuses to forget, who refuses to be quiet, who refuses to accept silence as an answer. There are theories, many of them, that Ayla was injured in the home and didn't survive, that panic set in and a cover-up followed, that her remains were disposed of in a way so meticulous that nothing was ever found. Others believe she may still be alive, taken or trafficked, but law enforcement has all but ruled that out. They've stated clearly, they do not believe Ayla left the house alive. And yet, without a body, there will always be questions, always be hope, always be doubt. It's been more than a decade. Ayla would be a teenager now. She might be preparing for high school. She might have a favorite band, a best friend, a dream for the future. But instead her face is frozen in time. A toddler with big eyes and a cast on her arm, forever missing. And maybe that's the cruelest part of all, because Ayla Reynolds didn't vanish into thin air. Someone knows. Someone has always known. And that someone, for more than 10 years, has lived with that truth. What would make someone hide the truth about a baby girl? Fear, shame, a desire to protect a loved one, or something darker? In this case, every answer only leads to more questions. Every theory only deepens the mystery. But what we know, what we can say without doubt, is this: Ayla Reynolds did not disappear on her own. She didn't walk out of the house. She didn't choose to vanish. Something happened. Something terrible. And someone out there is still carrying the weight of that night. Maybe one day they'll speak. Maybe one day guilt will crack the silence. Maybe one day, Ayla will finally be brought home. Until then, her story stands as a chilling reminder. Even in the quietest towns, behind the most ordinary doors, unspeakable things can happen. And sometimes, the loudest screams are the ones never heard.